everyone, welcome back to Body Haven Soaps. My name is Darlene and I am the owner and creator of Body Haven Soaps. Today's video is going to be all on molds for cold process soap. It's one that I said I was going to make a while ago and I just hadn't got around to doing it, but I have been receiving a lot of questions about molds and options, where to start, those types of things. So we're going to quickly go over that today. If you're new to this channel, on this channel we go over how I run my business. I share recipes, techniques, tricks. We're going to be going over formulating so you guys can create your own recipes. All of those things on this channel, my goal is to help other creators create. So that is what I'm going for. If that's something that interests you, just click that subscribe button and the bell so you're notified when I upload videos. If you are a previous subscriber, thank you for your support. I greatly appreciate it, and hopefully you guys get some information out of my videos. All right, so let's get to it. First off, let's talk about molds. Now, cold process soap, obviously, any of these molds can be used for cold process soaps. They can also be used for that melt and pour soap. I don't tend to do melt and pour soaps into loaves. I will do them in individual molds like these ones. But I do a lot of cold process soap. I don't do a lot of melt and pour. Mostly for embeds, I will do melt and pour, but even that, I'm starting to make soap dough, so I'm creating my own embeds that way as well, which is something that we will go over in the future. Okay, so first off, if you're first starting out, my biggest tip to you guys is do not go out and spend a whole ton of money on molds that you're never going to use. I have bought this one. It was one of the first molds I bought. You can tell it's pretty well used. Basically, this mold, the only thing I do with this one anymore is any leftover batter, I'll put it in there so it's bars that I can use. Or my grandkids really like the little pattern inside of this one. I don't know if you can see that, but I will make them little soap bars because they think that it's pretty cool. But that's all I use this for, and it wasn't actually a cheap mold. I think I paid like, I don't know, I can't even remember. It was 4 years ago, but it was probably $15 or $12, something like that. So for 4 bars, it adds up quick. If you're going to be making large batches. So I wouldn't go buying stuff like this that it's just, I mean, I do find a use for it, but it's nothing that I use for my personal business, so to say. Okay. Then we have those silicone molds that you can buy like these. So if you're going to make the round soap, I do make my kids soaps in this because I have a line of children's products. So I do use this one and these ones for those bars, but I don't do cold process soap. I will do the melt and pour in these mostly. Okay, so buying a bunch like this, unless that's exactly what you're looking for, it's not something that I would invest in unless that's what you're looking for. But so these are those options. Okay, they all have a purpose, and I've made use of everything that I've bought. However, I don't use them all that often. So these ones I use for my kids line of soaps, and I do have a use for them. If that's what you're looking for, you can absolutely put cold process soap in these. Then we have the little hearts, and I did this for Valentine's. I use this for multiple different things, so I've made use of these. But absolutely, you can just purchase molds like this for cold process soap. These ones here that I bought, they were fairly cheap actually. I got 4 for 20 bucks or whatever. And there's different ones. So this is 4 of this style here. And then I have these sunflower ones here. I use these all the time. I do all of my buff bars in these. These are, if you're going for that round soap, I find these very handy. And I do my cold process soap in these for all of my buff bars because of how I wrap them. Let me just show you how I wrap those. So out of the soap molds here that I do all of my buff bar collection, which is all of my exfoliant soaps, I do them in these molds, and this is how I package them. Okay, so they work perfect for that, for the exfoliating soaps. So that is what I use these for, but you can So you can absolutely use any of these molds. So if you're going for a silicone mold, you're looking for that silicone mold, so it's easy release, you don't have to line molds, all that kind of stuff. If you're just starting out, I would go with molds, you know, more like this, if that's what you're looking for using. As far as the large silicone molds, let's just get these out of my way. Okay, as far as the large silicone molds for loaves, if you're just starting out, I would go with something like this. I know that it's not a wooden mold, but it does have the ridges on the side, and it's a 2-pound loaf, so this is a good starter size, and it is the silicone, and that is what I would go with. If you don't want to be lining your molds and that type of stuff, definitely this is one of the first loaf molds that I had when I was first starting out, because originally I wasn't planning on starting a business, and until you get to the point where you need to be making large batches, this makes 8 1-inch bars. Okay, so but it's fairly wide. You're not gonna, you can buy this tall skinny in this shape as well. Okay, so that's an option, and that's what I would go with if you're looking for a loaf for your cold process and you're just starting. This is absolutely what I would start with. Okay, then I have these molds here, so just to finish going over these little molds, these I use for my conditioner bars and that kind of stuff. This one here is a fairly heavy duty mold. I believe I got this one from Soap and More out of Calgary. I love this mold. I'm going to be ordering some more. This one I got off of Amazon, and I use it for my sample conditioner bars, but it's pretty light silicone. So if you order stuff, these silicone molds, some of them are pretty flimsy and thin. You can see, like, this is pretty flimsy compared to this, right? So you get what you pay for. And I think I paid 20 bucks for this mold, and this mold here I may have paid, I don't know, 10 bucks, something like that. So you get what you pay for when you're buying the silicone molds, okay? And then I had purchased these, and I would not suggest these. These are melt and pour molds. You can put your cold process soap in them. I never have, but it does say that it is rated for that. But I don't even use them there, and they were expensive, so they were a waste for me. So, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, but these are not molds that I would suggest for cold process soap. Okay. So as I was saying, if you're just starting out, I would go with one of these, and you can get the tall skinny in these. I don't have one because after I got this was all I was going to do, and then when I decided to turn this into a company, I went and I made my own molds, which I will show you. Other ones that I purchased offline are these ones I got from Amazon. They're just a wooden molds, and they have the silicone liners. Now I use these for when I'm making custom soaps for birthdays, wedding soaps, those types of things is when I will use these molds. I also use these for my samples, so when I make a batch of soap in one of these bigger molds, I always make my recipe a little bit bigger, and I make sample bars that I cut, and I make them this, so they're not very big. I'll just give you a demonstration. So you can see they're not huge, but this is what I make my sample soaps. So they're just little 2-ounce bars, okay, and they're just my sample soap. So I can, whatever batter I have left over, I pour, and I'm not selling these. Some of these I will put into gift packs when I'm making up my gift packages, and then these are samples that I send people in their parcels. So I kind of do it like this, and that is what I use this mold for. So if I'm doing birthday soaps, wedding soaps for custom orders, or I just make a little bit extra if I want to make some samples, and this is what I give out for samples. Okay, so that kind of works for me there, and I do find use for these, but they aren't huge, as you can see. They don't make large bars of soap. This one is a little bit wider, as you can tell. Okay, so I have the two options for my custom soaps. I don't do samples in this one But I have two options for when people order custom samples, so that are custom soap. So that's where I find these very useful. And this would be my go-to for any new soaper that's just starting out. I would start out with, you know, your 2-pound batches. I wouldn't get into the large batches till you figured it all out. Okay. Now, as far as lined silicone molds, the large ones, this is the only lined silicone mold I own at this moment. And I bought this out of the States, actually. So it cost me quite a bit because buying molds like this are expensive. Okay. And I don't know, this one was probably $100 and some. And then I had to pay shipping and duty, and yeah, this ended up being a pretty expensive mold for me. But I did order a soap cutter and things like that from them. But it is quite expensive. Okay, if you're in Canada. In the United States, it'd be more reasonable if that's where you live to get these, and they're more readily available in the United States. It's pretty hard to find lined silicone molds like this in Canada. There is a few companies. There's one company I am looking at that I will be ordering from, and I will show you those when I do get to that point. But these are kind of handy, and I really like the silicone molds because everything stays perfectly square. They're really flexible, so it's easy to get all of your soap out. If you're going to buy a big wide mold like this, I actually have a loaf slicer, so one I run through and I cut my bars this way. But you could absolutely line your own molds and do one this size, just like I have here. Okay, but if you're going to go into this, just remember they are quite costly, so if you're just starting out, it wouldn't be my go-to. Okay, make sure that before you invest all this money that you actually have sale of your product. Okay, but I will be going to all silicone molds eventually. But you know, as you build a business, it's a slow process. Don't dive right in and spend thousands of dollars and then not follow through. I'm at a point right now where I am definitely, this is going to be what I'm doing, so it's time for me to invest more, and I've invested quite a bit already. Okay, so that is that mold. Then we have our homemade molds. So you guys, what I did, because I do woodwork as well, believe it or not, I build all kinds of things, is we just made my own loaf molds to the dimensions I want, to the width, to the height, everything. And that is the nice thing about making your own molds, is you can do whatever you want. Creators create, and that's what we need to be able to do. So even if you don't do your own woodwork, you guys, if you know somebody that does, this is a pretty simple thing. It is a bottom with, you know, 4 sides. Do it to the measurements you want. Get someone to build one for you. It'll be way cheaper than ordering the wood molds, if that's the way you're going to go. Okay, to get the silicone liner, now, to make a perfect silicone liner, it takes a lot of steps. I've looked into it, but this is to line your own mold. I would definitely just get somebody that knew what they were doing just to build you some wood molds. It'd be way cheaper for you guys. Okay. And then we have, I have different sizes of ones that we've made. There's 2 different ways that I've seen to line your mold. This is the way that I normally do it. And this is a video I watched on how to line it with all these folds and creases and stuff. I didn't like it, but not saying it doesn't work for some people. I mean, if that's how some people want to do it, that's fine. But there's all kinds of folds. My problem with this is if you look in here, there's a lot of paper up here. So my end parts of my bars, they're just not usable. They're too crinkled and ruffled and stuff. And I just find it a little bit more tedious to do it this way. I did one just to show you guys an example and see how it worked, but yeah, it's definitely a learned thing, and probably once you did it enough times, you probably have no problems with it. But I do mine like this, and as you can see, it is nicely lined. Okay, and I am going to demonstrate how and you can do this in any shape and mold. So we have my empty mold. I have soap to make, so we're going to do it this way. Okay, so I have my mold, and this is, I bought this from Staples, and it is just a huge roll of freezer paper. Okay, so it's a big roll, and this is probably half gone. And I think I paid $50 for it, and I've had it for over a year probably now. So this is the cheapest way I found to purchase. You can just use parchment paper, but I like the freezer paper because it's got the waxy finish and it lets go of the soap really nice. So, but you can just buy a small roll of paper as well. But it works really well. We want to make sure that we have this long enough. It's going to come up all the sides, okay? So you need to be able to come up all the sides. And we're just going to cut a piece off. We got this out of the way. Okay, so now I've seen ones where you can, you know, tip your mold up, fold it on the inside. That's the style. How I do it, you guys, it's just a simple way. I'm just going to take this paper, set it on top of my soap mold. Let me move the camera here. Okay, hopefully you guys can see a little bit better. I darkened the video a bit. All right, so we just have my mold like this, and I'm just going to take this piece and I'm just going to lay it on top of the mold. So pretty simple. Make sure I have it kind of even. I don't get too worried about the edges because I'm going to trim all that off. And I just hold this in place. I'm just going to take my fingernail, okay, and I'm just going to mark the inside of the mold. Now be careful not to rip it, but I'm just going to give a quick mark here of the inside of the mold. And make sure you're on the inside creasing. Just like so. So now when I have that off, you can see I have that square. And if you fold it over, you guys, it's a little easier to see the square rectangle. Okay, and I always fold this way and then that way. I just get a better crease. And I find it easier to fold the crease, so I'm just going to fold this over until I find the line, the crease that I made. And I'm just going to press along that crease. I'm going to flip it around, do the exact same thing to the other side. Find my crease, and it folds really easy, you guys. Okay, and then do both ends. And if you make a little bit off air, it's really easy to manipulate and change your folds. So just do your folds this way. Once I've done that, I just simply take and fold in the opposite direction, so I get a nice crisp line this way. Okay, so as simple as that. So now I have all of my creases in there. Now these are my end pieces here, and these are my side pieces. So I'm going to cut along each of these lines here. So where my line is, where my line is for my end pieces, I'm going to cut along there. Right to the point, okay? Now I'm going to cut along this side. And just make sure you don't go past the bottom. Do that on all four sides of your ends. Okay, so like this. And then I'm just going to take those, I'm just going to fold those in and get those out of my way. Okay, so when we look at the end pieces here, you guys, these are going to fold up like so, okay? But that's pretty wide across there, so I just need it to go 1.5 to 2 inches through. So I'm actually going to just cut this piece out, and that is what I like about this method is we don't have all of that paper at the ends of our soap loaves, causing a bunch of wrinkles and stuff in our bars. Okay, so these 4 pieces I put aside for now. And we have this. Now I know these are a little long, so I'm just going to trim these up because I can. The less paper I have to work with, the better. Okay, so now when we fold these up, this is going to sit right behind and fit in your mold. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to just put these ends together, grab the mold, okay, and we will just position this in our mold. Don't get this end too deep or it won't slide in because you're making this perfect. Okay. I need to take this end piece and I need to just adjust it slightly. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit more room here on the end piece. And you could tape these together beforehand if you wanted to. I just find it easier to adjust if I don't. Take your hands inside and just crease that so that it fits nice and snug. And I just take my fingernails, you guys, and I run along the inside of the mold, like down in here, to crease it into the corner so I get nice square loaves. And then you're going to take your corners here, okay, and right at the corner, okay, you are going to snip right down to your mold. And then I just have my tape. Tape these end pieces, crease them nicely over. And I don't think you have to do your end pieces first, but that's just how I do it. Just routine, but just get them all cut and taped over. Make sure you have no bubbles on the sides. And I just put a crease so that it doesn't move. Like so. So I'll show you on this side. So in case I had an extra. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure it's nice and tucked in. Bring it up. Fold it over like so. And voila, we have a nice line mold. So that's how easy that can be, you guys. And you can just buy parchment paper and do this. You don't have to buy a big one like I did. If you have somebody that is good with wood, or you can do it yourself, I would just build your own wood molds. If you just plan on lining them, it's way cheaper. To get the silicone molds, you can buy a silicone mold and then build a wood mold. That might be cheaper for you. So whatever works for you. But absolutely, you guys, if I was just starting out, and when I just started out, this would be the silicone mold that I would go with. I don't know, they're about 29 bucks a piece or 25 bucks a piece, whatever they are. It's been a long time since I bought this one. But it's a crafter's choice mold. And it does come in the tall and skinny as well. That is what I would go with if you're just starting out. Once you're building and doing more volume, I would then, if you didn't want to invest money into buying the silicone line molds, get someone to build you a wood mold and line it like this. Okay, so hopefully you guys, this kind of goes through the different molds. There's many different soap molds. I'm just getting into going to start experimenting with the circle molds, things like that. So that's something that we will get into in the future. But as far as loaves go or soap bars, this is what I would do. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and you gained some knowledge. Hopefully that answers all of the questions that I was receiving about soap molds, and this makes sense to you guys. I appreciate your guys' support. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.